Hey everybody, it's Maxine, and I'm here with another Trumpology report. Today is February 1st, 2018, and if you watched my first video today where I compared I talked about Trump's forecast and the United States forecast for February 2018, you know that I mentioned that I was going to do a reading on Stormy Daniel and compare it to Trump. I hadn't planned on doing this. Some people have asked me, they've mentioned the names of other women, and I said until a person makes front page news, I'm not going to do a chart on them. Also, because of the nature of this relationship, and when it took place and what was going on in his life with Melania and their brand new baby, I really didn't want to touch it. It was just too sordid. And I'm a reporter, an astrological reporter, and I have to, in order to live up to my commitment to you to give you the astrological news, I have to do it. So, the other night she was on Jimmy Kimmel. She made front page news. They were joking about the affair, the $130,000 in hush money that she had received and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to read the chart to you. Now, we do not have a birth time for her, which means I can only do a solar chart. However, we know that a solar chart still is very accurate. So let me just jump in and start talking about Stormy's chart. I've got her solar chart here, and I will try and remember to give those of you who have asked me to give you the degrees of the planets. Now remember, we don't have an ascendant for her. We don't have, I'm pretty sure her moon's in Scorpio, based on the ephemeris listing. But we don't have the degree it's in. We don't have the cusp, so we don't know what houses the planets are in. However, I think we got some information. So let's just start, shall we? I'm going to start with the 12th house because that's where Venus is. Venus, the planet of love, is in her 12th house. It's in 16 degrees of Aquarius. That is a very impartial humanitarian placement for Venus. Now, I'm not saying that if you have Venus in Aquarius, you don't feel love. But one of my astrology students told me decades ago that she was married to an Aquarian, and he said, look, I told you I loved you last week. I haven't changed my mind. It's that kind of approach. And because her Venus is in the 12th house, her relationships can be hidden. Well, it was hidden until it wasn't. And just because you have Venus in the 12th doesn't mean you have hidden relationships. It very often means that your concept of love is so beautiful that the earth plane can't possibly deliver. It also means that you like to be alone. So this, in light of what has come forward about the year-long affair between Stormy Daniel and Donald Trump, we know that it's behind the scenes activities. She has Mars in the first house. In Pisces, Mars is what you throw yourself into. The first house is you. It's your physical appearance. It's your personality. It's you putting you first. But her Mars is in Pisces. And Pisces is the dreamer. So she may be fighting for a belief. And Pisces rules movies. It rules music. It rules entertainment, and of course she's a porn star. So that fits, Mars being sex, Pisces being movies. Please understand, if you have Mars in Pisces, I am not saying you are a porn star. I'm saying that she chose to use it this way, okay? You may be fighting for a belief system, for a cause in which you believe. So this is not something across the board. This is something we all know because of the history between her and Trump that has recently come out. So, Mars in Pisces, uh, a passionate dreamer. Conjunct the South Node. The South Node is that area of life where there can be a drain if you spend too much time in the house where the South Node is located. Well, in this case, it's in her first house. So she has, and it's what we've mastered in past lives. So she's mastered that Mars, that passion, that dreamer, passionate dreamer. And she can overdo a good thing. She can lose her energy if she doesn't balance it with the seventh house, which we'll get to in a minute. Her sun is in Pisces, 26 Pisces, and so she's got Mars conjunct the South Node conjunct the sun. This means that her energy can be drained, and she's going to need time alone, not just for sexual activities, but to replenish her own energy. The center of her life is herself, and that's just how it is. It's true for all of us in our solar chart. So I'm not saying anything negative about her. 26 Pisces. Now, she has Mercury, what we think about and what we talk about, in the second house of money, in Aries, 8 degrees of Aries. So she's very sharp. She's very quick. She may be dreamy as a Pisces, and she may go off on a tangent with a vision in mind, but when she speaks, it's very direct. And it's in the second house of money. So I'm sure she negotiated that $130,000, or at least her attorneys did for her. And very directly, very matter-of-factly, she thinks about money. Smart. Jupiter, the planet of expansion. It is the great benefic. It is in 29 degrees of Cancer. In a solar chart, we put 0 of the next sign on the cusp, on all of the cusps. Not the next sign, but the sign. In this case, the next sign is Leo. And so she has a lot of hidden activity at work and blessings, hidden blessings from her work. And in 29 degrees, she's working out the last lesson of Cancer, which is nurturing and caring and protecting. And so she is protecting her job. Great. She has Saturn in the 7th. Now, Saturn in 9 degrees of Virgo. Saturn traditionally is a very serious planet. Wherever it is, we take that area very seriously. It's in the area of partnership. And so she takes partnership very, very seriously. Remember, she's got Mars in the first. And she jumps in feet first, so to speak. No pun intended, because Mars is in Pisces. And Saturn says other people can hold her down and back because other people deal with reality. She's dealing with Pisces, divine inspiration, wishful thinking, make-believe. And the rest of the world that she deals with is saying, you got to be realistic, girl. And Saturn is conjunct the North Node, and the North Node is that area of life in which we find our greatest fulfillment and success. This is really great. Pluto in 18 Libra in the 8th house. Pluto is in its own house. Pluto is all or nothing. The 8th house is sex, taxes, secrets. And so she is privy to incredible secrets and has great control. How she uses it is up to her. Now, I don't want to give you a spoiler alert, but our Pluto sits on Trump's Jupiter, which rules his 5th house of fun and games. So there's a very powerful message there. Pluto in the 8th means that she can let go of control in this lifetime if she chooses to, because she can transform the need to be in control instead of being the controller, be the one who helps others transform by doing it herself, letting go of control, taking charge, rather than being in control. Because with control, there's manipulation. And that's what's going on here. Now, the ninth house, your higher mind. She has a Scorpio moon. Scorpio is the most powerful sign in the zodiac. And so the moon is what we are instinctively drawn to. She is instinctively drawn to the big picture. She sees the big picture. But a Scorpio moon is a control placement for the moon. Once again, we don't have a degree because we don't have a birth time for her. But she is nobody's fool. Uranus is in 28 Scorpio. And if her moon is anywhere near Uranus, this gives her great psychic ability. It also indicates a rebel. And so her beliefs involve expanding and rebelling. And with all of that psychic ability, and Pluto in the 8th gives a great psychic awakening and awareness. So with all of that going on, there can be insight into what's really happening. Now her Uranus is trining her sun, and her moon maybe also. And so this means that she could handle this information very positively. The most elevated planet is Neptune. Wishful thinking, idealism, make-believe, fantasy. Well, she's a porn star. Do I have to say anything else? This is her public image. She projects it. She is all things to all people in her career. Now, let's look at what she triggers in Trump's chart, because this is very important. We can't really get a handle on what he triggers in hers as much as we can what she triggers in him. But it goes back and forth, and I'll show you what I mean. First of all, her Jupiter, abundance, the great benefic, sits on his anti-vertex. Many of you know about the vertex. It's your karmic role in life. It's your role with other people. It's the point over which you have no control. The anti-vertex, which is directly across the chart, I mean literally directly across the chart from your vertex, is the point over which you do have control. And so her Jupiter gives him the opportunity to do things his way, which is really lovely. Her Jupiter sits on his Saturn. Saturn in the 11th house takes friendship very seriously, particularly since it is conjunct Venus. His Saturn is 23 Cancer, his Venus is 25 Cancer. But Jupiter is God's law, Saturn is man's law. And so she expands his friendship circle. She opens him up to a more optimistic way of dealing with friends and being a friend and getting what he wants. In addition, her Jupiter sits on his Venus. Jupiter is friendship, Venus is love. I noticed when I compared Trump's chart to some of the people he had appointed to different positions in his cabinet, there was the Venus from chart to chart was triggered, or his Venus was triggered by theirs. And so there is a loving feeling. Even if he fires them, they can still be friends. They can still have that feeling of friendship and caring. Now, with a Venus-Saturn conjunction, he expects people to be loyal to him, and it's very hurtful to him if they're not. And we've already seen that. We already know that. Now, her Saturn sits on his ascendant. Her Saturn is 9 degrees of Virgo. His ascendant is 29 degrees, 58 minutes of Leo. That means just 2 more minutes, itsy bitsy little minutes, and he would have had a Virgo ascendant, which is what I think makes him so thin-skinned. Virgos are very sensitive people and very critical, and on the ascendant, they are self-critical. Now, he's got that Leo ascendant, but he's finishing up that lesson. He's only got 2 more minutes to go. And so when I look at his chart and I see that 10th house, loves to shock people and, be different and march to his own drummer. I really look at the ascendant and see the insecurity that a Virgo ascendant gives, because Virgo fills his whole first house. Her Saturn sits on his ascendant. Saturn is the leader. Saturn can squelch you. Saturn can hold you down and back. Her Saturn squelches him, holds him down and back, forces him to take responsibility. She's the leader. She's the boss. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Okay. Her North Node is in his first house as well. It doesn't sit on his ascendant, but her North Node there enhances his feeling about himself. She can encourage him, makes him feel good, and she's the one calling the shots. Her Pluto is on his Jupiter. Now, this is very interesting. Pluto is control, as I mentioned. It's also transformation. Jupiter is in the great benefic, abundance, is sitting in his second house of money. She has control over that on some level. And it probably showed when she and or her attorney negotiated the settlement between the two of them. Pluto sitting on his Jupiter is 17 Libra. Her Pluto is 18 Libra. Jupiter rules his fifth house of fun and games and sex and children and all kind of fun. Fun. It rules his eighth house of sex as well and other people's money, but we're talking here about a sexual relationship between two consenting adults. And so this is where she controls him. Moving right along. Her moon is in his third house. We know it's a Scorpio moon. We just don't know the degree. And so there's a lot of a deep emotional tone that she brings to his thinking, adding to the don't get angry, get even feeling that he has, if you wrong me, I'll get you back. I will retaliate. Revenge is its own reward. That type of thing. If you mess with me, if you're not loyal, you're my enemy. Pluto. I keep thinking Scorpio and saying Pluto because Pluto rules Scorpio. With the moon in Scorpio in the third, there's suspicion that she brings to his thinking. Her Uranus and Neptune are both in his fourth house. Now, Uranus is the rebel. It unsettles everything. It has you, wherever Uranus travels in your chart, that's where the rebel comes alive, and it triggers out with the old, in with the new. Uranus acts suddenly and unexpectedly, and there it is in his fourth house of home and family. In addition, her Neptune, wishful thinking, idealism, is in 20 degrees of Sagittarius. Her Uranus is 28 Scorpio. Her Neptune is 20 Sag. It sits on his south node and moon. Neptune dissolves whatever it touches. It also brings wishful thinking. So she may have been thinking in terms of creating some sort of I don't know if they had their own place, if she wanted to get involved in real estate with him, but it can dissolve his family situation. And I'm sure that when this hit the news, this is very unsettling to Melania. It does trigger, as I said, wishful thinking. Now, her Neptune is also in opposition to his Uranus, Sun, North Node in the 10th house. I didn't put that in there because it gets a little complicated. But Neptune then can dissolve his public image. It can undercut. It can dissolve. It can wash away. Neptune, I call it nebulous, nefarious, Neptune. You never know how it's going to manifest. And so there can be the disillusion on the family level as well as in the career. Her Venus sits in his 6th house. So she helps him enjoy his work. There would be possibly a place for her. I don't know that there was in his work, but she helps his health. And there's just, if she were not necessarily in the business she was in, she might be of help to him in his work. Her Mars and South Node are in his 7th house. Mars is what you throw yourself into. It's what you fight with and fight for. There's a South Node. She threw herself into partnership with him, but it's a partnership that is a karmic relationship that came from a past life, and it's not beneficial. I say that in light of what has been happening in the news, because a South Node is not necessarily a terrible, horrible thing. It's something you have mastered in past lives. So looking at it from the positive, they have been together before. This is a relationship from before, and they threw themselves into it, and he considered her his equal. Her Sun and Mercury are in his 8th house. They do not trigger any planets because you don't have any planets in his 8th house. But that is the house of sex and secrets and other people's money and control. And so what she did was help him probably open his eyes, not even by anything verbal, on how he could work through paying her, giving her gifts, perhaps. I don't know. But it's a very interesting comparison. And I know that you all, if you listen, you heard a lot more than I verbalized. And that's the way we'll keep it for now. I hope this has helped those of you who have been after me to do the comparison between the two charts. Once again, she's now out of the mistress closet, and we'll have to see how this plays out. It is what it is. So, this is Maxine Taylor. Till we meet again, may the stars shine brightly on you and yours. Bye for now.